For 2024, Nissan and their performance division, Nismo, have revealed, of course, this right here, the Z NISMO. And unlike the regular Z and the Z Performance, the Z NISMO honestly is what I think the regular Z should have been from the get-go. It has improved aerodynamics. It looks a little bit better than the regular Z. It has grippier rubber, it has lightweight wheels, better brakes, a rethought out suspension, and a 9-speed automatic gearbox that's so different than the regular one. It's almost an entirely new system. It has grippier Recaro seats, a little bit more of a sportier interior, and all around it's going to give you better track times and better canyon carving performance than a regular Z. And while it may not have a manual, the Z nameplate since 1969 has been delivering on that two-door, two-seater rear-wheel drive sports car fun that I think still is really inherently rooted in this new 2024 Z. But even as we are in 2024 today, with all the electrification and hybridization, there still is a large segment of this class of sports car on the market here. And at $68,000 as tested right now, this Z NISMO is a little bit on the pricier end. And I've read the comments, I've read the forums, I've seen all the discussions on this vehicle. I understand it. Let's push all that out of the way, because this thing is still a drop-dead gorgeous, pretty rare two-door fun sports car, and I still think it's something you should consider if you're on the market right now. So let's go dive in, see how this Z has been living with me over the past week, and how I think it stacks up to a lot of the other competition in this segment. Let's go take a look at under the hood here, and I just want to keep my theory of this car in check now, because over the past week, I kind of feel like this vehicle is almost previewing what Nissan's going to be doing for the Z in future updates. I think it's a lot of enhancements they kind of spent the money on the Z NISMO to kind of later on improve the regular Z lineup. So what do we have going on under the hood here? So shockingly, there's actually not that many crazy enhancements happening under the hood here. It's the same 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 we find throughout the entire Z lineup, as well as in some Infiniti products as well, though they have massaged it just a little bit to now make 420-ish horsepower and a little over 380 pound-feet of torque. Now, the real discussion we're going to be having here under the hood is the 9-speed automatic transmission, which is the only gearbox you can get on the NISMO Z. Why? Well, Nissan kind of offers a few different reasons for why they made this decision. Some are really just that the automatic is genuinely quicker around a track, and that's what they're really aiming for. Yes, everyone wants the manual. They may consider it in the future. Some have even said that they couldn't afford to do it into part of their R&D budget, but I think this is a really well thought out transmission, and it should not go unnoticed. It's a 9-speed automatic transmission, and for the NISMO Z, they've pretty much rethought it from the ground up. It features new clutch packs, it features new tuning, and there's also a new Sport Plus mode where it really is a high precision tool, and it works really, really well in those conditions. Now, it is a little bit of some Germanic influence in this transmission, as I believe it was a little bit co-developed in a way with Daimler at the time, or Mercedes-Benz, so it's advanced. I think it works really well, and yes, we all want the manual in this car, but I think for this application, don't be too upset about it. Drive it, and I think you'll enjoy it. Some other great tidbits about this powertrain that have been improved are there's additional cooling throughout the whole front end of the vehicle for oil cooling, for engine cooling, as well as we also have a rear limited slip differential, which is mechanical using clutch packs. So that also has its own kind of heat sink system as part of it now. So there's a lot of stuff that's been rethought with the Z NISMO. We also have some chassis bracing under the hood, which is some other stuff you can't see, as well as underbody chassis bracing. So this car is significantly stiffer than a regular Z, even the Z Performance, and you definitely notice that out on the road. And some of my favorite enhancements that Nissan has made on the Z is actually on the visual front. So up front here, we actually have a completely different front end than the regular Z lineup here in the United States. And it's kind of inspired by the old 240ZG. They call it like the G nose a little bit. So it has a little bit more of a pointier look to it. And it's all actually aiding aerodynamics. It's helping to improve downforce as well as reduce lift. So we have a little bit of an extended spoiler area over here, these kind of side aero canards as well. We have the same style of LED headlights we find on the regular Z, though I think they work a little bit better on this front end fascia. We can also find a NISMO badge over here and a very open grille area here to help improve cooling to all, especially that new oil cooler as well. So I really like this front fascia. I hope this kind of translates to a future facelift on the regular Z lineup, because I think this is how the Z should have looked from the beginning, and it's already a gorgeous vehicle. This only makes it even better. The next front that the Nismo team has genuinely rethought on this Z NISMO here is on the tires, wheels, and braking areas. So up front here, we have these new Dunlop more stickier, aggressive rubber than the regular Z. This definitely is helping improve handling, and the extra width is definitely helping to improve handling. We have 255 width tires up front and 285 width tires out back. It's a little bit of a twitchier setup, you may say, if you want to have a little more fun, but it definitely helps to improve grip around corners, and especially on-track performance here is way improved. We also have these forged 19-inch raised wheels. We have a Nismo badge engraved into the wheels as well, and hiding behind these wheels are upgraded brake rotors and pads as well to improve your stopping power. Now, I have noticed these brakes definitely produce a lot of brake dust. These wheels were just cleaned about 2 days ago, and I have not been driving this thing very hard. So that's one thing to note here, but I think they work very, very well, very impressive stopping power. And generally on the road, you're never really gonna be using the full amount of braking force that this thing is capable of, that you'll definitely find out if you take it to a track. The rear of the Z NISMO has also been enhanced as well. We have this nice ducktail spoiler built into the rear hatch as well. And I think the whole rear new bumper area is a little bit more aggressive and sportier than before. We have these red Nismo accents going across it. We have those more centralized exhaust tips as well, which are valved, and they sound pretty good actually. And the rest of the car is pretty much the same. We have a little bit of a nice side skirt area here with some red accents on our side mirrors as well. And the wider stance of these tires, the little bit of visual and aero enhancements we have here really do help even further improve the already gorgeous looks and borderline a little bit of exotic looks that you get on the new Z. Well, if anyone was curious how much luggage space you have in the Nissan Z, let's have a quick look. Open up the hatch here, and well, you can actually surprisingly fit a bit of things in here. I have a carry-on suitcase, 2 backpacks, a bag that has a lot of stuff in it and it's placed on the side, and a whole bunch of other garbage in here. But you can actually fit some luggage in the Z, shockingly, even though it has this kind of flat storage space area here. It's decently deep enough. So good job on Nissan, my friend. Now, getting inside the Z is pretty easy. We do have keyless access actually, so we have this little button here to open and unlock the doors. Pop open the door handle here, and we have the newer generation style of the Z's interior. We have nice big giant door panels. So this one now gets Alcantara on the inside, and we now get these really racy Recaro seats, which are super supportive and shockingly still very comfortable, because we have the Recaro badge right there, as well as the Nismo badge is nice and placed up there as well. They are manually adjustable on the driver's side, and we actually don't have the same adjustments on the passenger side. We just have a front and back, and I believe a tilting adjustment on the passenger side. But one thing to note here is they are actually like touching the roof of the Z over here. So if you have a helmet or something and you're on a racetrack, you honestly might not be able to fit in this. So keep that in mind. Maybe you want to check that out at a dealership before buying it, but that's one thing to note. We also have these really nice Z side sill plates here, as well as a Nismo carpet over here with the Z badge and some red stitching and some nice aluminum pedals down here. And of course, 2 pedals here is the only one you can get on this Z. No manual is on offer. So let's go hop inside and check out this interior. Okay guys, we are inside. Let's close up the door. Solid door thunk there, and we are in the interior of the Z NISMO, and check out this space here. Of course, pretty familiar if you know all of the updates on the newer generation Z, and let's start it up. So we have these new anodized red start stop button here, as well as a drive mode button here. So that's a definitely unique touch here, and that's also going to feed into this now red 12 o'clock marker on our steering wheel here, which is a blend of Alcantara and leather. I really love the shape of this steering wheel. It's absolutely fantastic to feel in the hands, great amount of grip, and the steering system is fantastic. We'll get to that later. We have paddle shifters back here as well, and again, you can see those passengers have the exact same Recaro seats that we have as the driver here. I guess if you want to fit a 5-point or 3-point racing harness over there, you could somehow attach it to the back. We also have the strut tower brace back here, but this interior is pretty gorgeous. So let's turn it on. And it comes to life pretty easily just like that here. And here we have this interior of the new Z. So what are we looking at? So up front here, like I said, we have this nice steering wheel here. We have a fully digital gauge cluster like on the regular Z's as well, though this one's getting this more unique Nismo-oriented graphics on pretty much every screen. And I love this sport gauge. It shows me all of the great information we need to see. You can even swap this out for a few other gauges on the side. I don't know why you need 2 boost gauges, but you do have 2 boost gauges here, one there, as well as these 3 analog gauges for your battery volts, as well as turbo speed and a boost gauge there, which are really cool. And you have a few different gauges you can kind of cycle through with our change or meter view. So we have sport. There's a normal gauge view, as well as an enhanced gauge view as well. And the normal and enhanced have a lot more options of customizability. You can change these center panels to a whole bunch of different things, very familiar with other Nissan infotainment systems. So nothing really crazy here, but I actually think it works generally really well. The controls aren't very confusing. You actually have distance control, so you have your radar cruise control. It doesn't really keep you in the lanes at all. It doesn't have that, but it does kind of control the distance, which is a nice touch. Everything else in here is very focused on performance and sportiness. We have a little bit of some stitching over here, but the rest of the interior is just part of that update we saw on the new generation Z. But one of the big omissions here, obviously, there's no manual gearbox. So we have this automatic shifter here, which is okay. It kind of blends well into the interior. Pretty simple to use. Reverse drive, we have a manual mode, and there's a neutral setting, and we can put it into park really easily right there. I will say though that the rear reversing camera is awful. It's just absolutely terrible. There's only a reversing camera, there's no 360 cameras. I feel like they could have thrown that in here for not that much extra money, so I hopefully they could do that down the road. As you can see, we have wireless CarPlay. The infotainment system itself, actually, I really enjoy it. It's angled at a perfect position to kind of just press these buttons here. It almost feels like a keyboard or something. It's so easy to use. You have physical dials here. It's simple enough. I'm really never using it anyways. I just throw on Apple CarPlay, put it on my maps, but really no complaints here. I think it's a fine infotainment system. It's big enough. It's not in your face as well. We have nice air vents up here. And we do have garage home light as well. There's no sort of glass roof or panoramic roof or convertible roof anymore. So it's just this fixed roof, which is fine. We have a little bit of some cutouts here, but it's still a little low. And we do have visors, of course, with some lights inside, which is a nice touch. But, you know, amenities are kept at the minimum, I think, in this interior. You don't have heated seats anymore because of the Recaro seats, so that's a little bit of a omission. And if you do need an extra cup holder, you can slide this back and reveal this one. But that's pretty much it in here. No wireless charging. We have 2 USB ports, one USB-C, one USB-A. A little bit of a small glove box over there to kind of store some stuff. And definitely passengers are going to have a little bit tighter foot space over there versus the driver area. So it's definitely a better car to drive than even being the passenger for one other seat here, but it's definitely not uncomfortable. I've always loved the air vents on the Zs. This is kind of carried over since the beginning, where they kind of blend into the door here, so the air passes through this and then comes out over here. You kind of move it around here, so it's a cool little touch. But you know, there's definitely some old switch gear in here. As we all know, it's not an all new platform, it's a rethought platform. They've improved everything in it, but I think they did a good job. I like the retro feel in here. And sitting in this driver's seat just feels special. And this visor style view you get around the Z, from how this angled this front A-pillar is and front glass, and how it kind of feels like you have that helmet visor on. It's really a unique experience. A lot of other sports cars don't even feel like that. It's very exotic feeling, I have to say. And you also have blind spot monitoring in here, which works fantastically well, because there are some pretty thick blind spots on these side C-pillar areas over here. So that's one thing to help out in that area. Otherwise, not much to talk about in this interior. I think it's functional, it works well. I really don't have any complaints in here. They even had some nice padding on the side here for your knees, for example. And the automatic climate controls, they're manual control vents, but hey, they work. They have no fussy stuff built into the infotainment system for climates. Again, well thought out, I think, interior here. Let's go head out on driving impressions here, because that's what the Z is all about. Okay guys, so how is the Z NISMO like to drive? And honestly, it's really fun. Objectively, this is a really great car to throw around, to drive. It has great dynamics, and over the regular Z, you do immediately notice a few different things and some of the big changes that come with this NISMO version. So we have that stiffer chassis, which you definitely feel going around town. The stiffer suspension, the chassis bracing, the wider tire, all that's coming together to give you a much more sports car, a real like hardcore sports car experience that the Z itself is good at, but this just takes it up to another level. You know, the suspension on this is firm and very rough. It's not something you're gonna probably want to have. You're probably going to want to have on like a daily commute all the time. I think the regular Z is a little bit more comfortable. I don't believe there's any type of adjustable damper on this one. You just have 3 different drive modes, from standard, sport, and sport plus. And speaking of sport plus, that is a new mode for the NISMO version. Now what it does is really bring this car alive. I honestly really enjoy how the car performs in Sport Plus mode. It's a huge difference versus Sport, Standard, and Sport Plus. Standard and Sport, this 9-speed automatic, which is actually unique to the NISMO, this particular one, is more clutch packs and all the revised software and gearing and stuff in there. Sport Plus transformed this gearbox. Just have a listen to some of these shifts in Sport Plus now. Some exhaust burbles there. it shifts really quick in Sport Plus mode. I think they've done a really great job at trying their best to kind of mimic something like the ZF 8-speed, or even like a dual clutch or something from the Porsche, like a PDK. It's nowhere near, I think, on the levels of those, and even in some cases there is a nice harshness that the ZF 8-speeds can mimic and kind of can be tuned to, that I don't think this gets close to that aggression, but it's still really good. It's fun to play around with in Sport Plus mode. Gear shifts are really quick and generally quite responsive from these paddles. I have noted though, specifically this morning, for example, all the temperatures in the vehicle. I love this gauge here. We can see our temperatures and our sports screen. It was cold. It was cold out. It was a cold start morning, and the gear shifts were a little bit rough, a little bit firm, and not very responsive to my paddle shifter inputs at all. It wasn't really until the vehicle started warming up that things started coming alive a bit more. That was one thing I did note, and you can just see the difference here in standard mode. You don't get those burbles with the downshifts. The gears are a little bit slower to shift. I think it's a nice blend. It has a nice duality to this transmission that I really like. And you can just hold the paddle in the other modes and bring it back in drive, or you can throw that drive and manual selection function on the automatic shifter down here. Now, another great thing about the Z NISMO is their new steering system device for this car. So the Nissan really calls it this one-shot steering rack, and I have to say, I really like it. I really love this steering wheel already to begin with, and I love the seating positions. You feel really low, a really nice wide view around you. Everything's in a really good position in terms of inside of the vehicle to touch things. I actually really like how this infotainment system is placed. It's kind of really easy to just navigate with your hands, and the angle works well. Really nice cockpit in here, and this one-shot steering system with the steering wheel, I really like it. There isn't a lot of weight to the steering. It's a little bit on the lighter side, but it's very direct, and you do still have feel. You can feel the road just a little bit through your hands, and I love the Alcantara grips on here. So I think they did a great job on this. It helps to bring this vehicle around corners quite well, and all that extra grip from these larger tires now is also really helping that quite a bit. And one thing to note about the Z, of course, obviously this NISMO as well, is that it's not on an all-new platform. It's not a high-tech, high-precision machine that you're going to get something like out of a Supra, which, yes, has a very tail-happy rear end, great gearbox, great engine, it's a fun vehicle. But this, yes, is maybe not as fast, even in this NISMO version. Yes, it's a little expensive. I've heard everyone's complaints about it, but it just has this charm to it, this driving feel, has a little bit of an old-school feel to it that I really like. It just feels a little bit more natural to drive around in this particular vehicle, I think. And I think I like that experience just a little bit more. Now, would I get it for the price that some of these dealers are asking for it? Probably not. But for what it is, I think it's a really fantastic machine. So I'm glad that Nissan is still able to produce vehicles like this. I think that's one thing where we kind of forget we're in a world now of hybridization and electrification, and not all these vehicles often get to live around all the time. So it's great that Nissan is still even able to produce the Z with limited budgets, a lot of focus on electrification and stuff. It's great to still have it around. That's what a lot of the Japanese manufacturers end up doing anyways. They kind of improve the cars over time, over the length of their life cycle of the vehicle, and so they just keep getting better and better, even by model year as well. So I'm excited to see what's coming from this car. It's really fun. Don't knock it for what people may say it is. I think it's still a really fantastic sports car. It gets the job done, and I have to say, I don't think I have gotten more attention in a car this past year that I've driven than this. Everyone is looking at it. I've had people driving by recording it with their phones because it looks exotic, and you don't see many Zs on the road. So if you really crave that uniqueness, a Z NISMO is something you may want. If you want to be seen on the roads and feel like you're at a Ferrari or something in terms of just attention, well, this car may actually be for you, because I've gotten quite a bit of attention in it this past week. And I have had zero issues, no glitches, no software quirks, no mechanical or technical problems. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna just keep driving and try to translate my wonderful experience I've been having with the Z over to you guys that way this week. As always, stay tuned for more coming in Allcarnews. Cheers.